Hi everyone, in this video I interviewed one of my students. His name is Matthew and he is a 17-year-old high school homeschooled student. And so this past year I've worked with him on both American literature and on SAT prep. Oh yeah, we did film it through Zoom, so it might look and sound a little bit different than this, but I just invite you to watch and share it with another parent or another student because we could be working with you guys. Also, there's some bonus content at the end that talks about the top 10 best books for reluctant readers. You're invited to watch the whole video, and if you like it, share it with another parent or student that you know. All right, let's get to it.
Let's talk about online tutoring in general. Why are you doing online tutoring?
I think it's better because it's more it's like one-on-one, and you really get to, I feel like when you're in a class setting, it's harder to ask questions because you can sometimes be embarrassed to ask these questions. It's like, oh, everyone's understanding it and I'm not understanding it. Like, you feel like embarrassed. You feel like okay, I'll wait. And then by doing that, like, you don't get to learn what you're being taught. I feel like when it's one-on-one, it's easier just to ask these questions that you usually wouldn't ask in like a class setting. And it'd be easier for you to like communicate with a teacher. So that's why I think online tutoring is better than, I guess, in class setting.
Yeah, because then if you're on the computer, you can already access information anyway. Because I remember being in person teaching in the classroom and saying, well, we could get so much done, so much learning, so much progress, but yet we have to book the computer lab, or we have to share the class computers, and not everyone has one that works. And then it's crazy because everybody has a different need. So the one-on-one is really nice. What you haven't mentioned yet is the homeschooling thing. So you've been homeschooling for a while, but at this point, your parents are working full time. And so they're not actually having to teach you anymore. They've been able to find online tutors that they trust who are qualified to teach in those subject areas. So has that been really helpful for you and your family?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because my mom's always busy and my dad's always busy too. So it's always hard for them to teach me a lot of things, especially since they did this for 3 children. So it was like my oldest brother, and I was still a kid. She was tutoring him. Like, I was there kind of like, there was really not enough time for me because since I was like the youngest and she had to teach 2 other kids. So I guess it was like a lot for my mom. I guess like tutoring really helped her, relieve all her stress of having to tutor me, having to worry about like learning these lessons, then being able to teach me them. So I feel like, yeah, I helped her a lot with these online tutors.
As far as this semester goes, how has JPEZ Tutoring, since you work with just me, how has my tutoring been able to help you?
Oh, it's gonna help me a lot. It's been a while. Before you, I had another tutor and I really didn't learn anything. It was very I was very even with the tutoring I had with them, I felt very like I wasn't able to ask questions because I really didn't. It was like, let's work on this, and then it's like, well, we worked on that day. That's all we could. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like, I feel like I didn't learn that much with them. Like, she gave me a program, I do the program, but even then I felt like it was still just me by myself. Like, I didn't have a tutor. I didn't really have a tutor. But like with you, like, I actually feel like I have a tutor and I can ask you questions, and you're really good at explaining things. So it's like, it helps a lot with like understanding certain things. So
Yeah, I'm glad to hear it because sometimes I think of other ways I could have said something, but then we run out of time. So it's good to hear that, because sometimes I think, man, I explained it really well, but other times I'll get caught up into thinking, wait, they need this, they need this. There's always, in my opinion, a better way to show something or explain something. So it's good to hear. So, I have my own tutoring business. I call it JPEZ Tutoring. We have the math side, and then we have the English side. So I want to know, what do you think stands out about my particular, either my tutoring company, how I do things, or just my teaching in general?
I don't know how to answer this question.
Nothing. Nothing
No,
stands out.
no.
It's
Hard. It's
fine.
hard.
It's just,
No, it's hard for me to think. How does yours stand out? Because I only had 2 reading teachers, and the other one was kind of like bare bones. Like, she didn't have any like cool programs. It was very just like, let's go to Khan Academy and then do this work. There was some like special stuff to it. And I feel like with you, there's like formats that you put in that help a lot. Like on the Google Doc, when you put like a little format, like these questions, like that helps a lot because it helps me understand what I need to do rather than just like, I don't know. yeah, you give explanation to what you want me to do. And with like my old teacher, there wasn't that much explanation. It was just kind of like, do this. And I didn't have like any details of how to do it or what they wanted in the paper. So then when I would actually like make the paper and get it out there, they critique it a lot because they didn't tell me what they wanted. And with you, you actually tell me what you want.
One of the most important aspects of being a teacher is communicating. And it's not even just that, it's communicating in an organized way. So that's why with pretty much every student, I try to make sure they have their own Google Drive account. They need to have their email so that when I'm sharing information, you're able to actually get it. Because if I don't have control over the aspect of giving you information, I feel like I can't teach you as well. It's not a teacher-centered show. You know, there may be moments where I'm talking a lot and you're listening, but then I'm needing you and other students to like give back. You have to write in the chat box. You have to open up a document and share it with me. You have to log into your IXL account and ask some questions. Like the whole point of you guys learning is to actually have you doing. And so I'm trying to do that. And sometimes we do that, and it's when we're tutoring, it's private. It's just two people, and maybe your parents in the background walking around hearing, or maybe they're not. So not everyone knows what this is like in the classroom. Anybody could come in. The principal could come in. A parent could come in, and that's fine. But it's also, you know, it's much more public. With this, we have to show people how beneficial it can be. If you had other friends or other peers who are interested in getting tutoring, either from our math services or from English and writing, what could you tell them about JPEZ tutoring?
I could tell them that your formatting for everything is very helpful and that you're very easy to talk to and very, how do you say it? You explain things very well where you're able to understand it like super clearly. And that's something you don't get a lot in regular school or certain tutors. So I'd say those are like the three things that really make you stand out.
Wonderful. Good. Yeah, I try to explain. I find that I'm always, in fact, I was just doing it today. I had a student earlier and I always explain something. And if they're quiet, which some of you guys are quiet, I have to ask, does this make sense? Is this making sense? Because if not, then like I want them to feel like they can ask questions. Like we were going over adjectives today, and I could tell that he didn't quite understand it, which meant he wasn't, I don't think he was wanting to ask questions, or he's younger, so he doesn't really know. This is all new for him. So we were having to go over that. Last, and probably the most challenging question, are there any improvements that you might suggest for JPEZ tutoring that might, you know, help you or help other students in the future?
For what you give me right now, like everything you've like given, like taught me, or like the way you've taught me, I think honestly, I really enjoy the way you do it now. And it's nice to be so like confident. I'm confident that I'm gonna learn something when I get in a lesson with you. So I think the way you're doing it right now is just fine.
You're 17, right? So think about, what are people your age needing to know, whether maybe people from 9th grade up, what is going to be a need that tutors need to meet?
I guess like what you were saying, like there are certain things that we don't really get taught in school that well. Things to do with finances and taxes and like those stuff like that they don't really teach you. It's more like you like even my brothers who like went through like college and all that like my parents had to like teach them how to do all this stuff because they really didn't have any idea. Because like it's new. It's new to like think about these things and like we don't really get experience with that until like we're much older and until we're adults basically. So I mean that could be something. I think that would really help to be teaching people like that, all that stuff at a young age.
I think writing is tough for students because perhaps they didn't read a whole lot of books as a kid. I think that people who are able to write, even if they're not perfect writers, you're a better writer when you have found books that you actually are interested in reading. The reading is going to do something to your brain to help give you ideas of things to say. Like I can always think of another way to write something down, but you know, I read books my whole life. I just was interested in that. So I was kind of thinking, what is another way to get students interested in books while we're tutoring? The problem is we read books that were assigned, or that are easy to teach. Like when we read The Great Gatsby, I picked that because I still think it's relevant to talk about, but it's
Mhm.
also very common for 11th and 12th graders to read that book in high school in the United States. So I actually made a list of books that will appeal to both K through 12. And
Mhm.
Matthew, if you don't mind showing everybody, I created, let's see how this will work here. All you have to do is you can just put first name and your email address, and then you should be able to download the free PDF. Once you have that in there, now you'll be able to view it in your email. All right, so Matthew, this is the top 10 best books for reluctant K through 12 readers. I have read them all and I own most of these, so I wanted to make sure that even if parents haven't heard of these books, they can have their student read one of these books with me. A lot of parents who are going to see this have probably they might recognize one or two of these when their child was younger. And so they sometimes aren't sure what to read when it comes to middle school and up, because
Mhm.
they're not reading those books with their kids all that often. They're reading the younger kid, the Hungry Caterpillar and maybe even Geronimo Stilton. And then later on, they're like, I need guidance, but teachers are often too busy to recommend that many books. I think they try, and I think media specialists at their kids' schools, they can do this, but tutors have the advantage because we know you guys really well. We're working with you
Mhm.
one-on-one, so we're able to actually show you the books that we think are best for you, at least right now, and relevant stuff, and even older books that are still worthy of reading. So did any of these look familiar to you?
Yes, where the red fern grows.
When did you read
Where
that book?
Ooh, I read that a long time ago.
It comes with a warning. Do you see there at the end it says tearjerker?
I remember it being sad.
Yeah, but sometimes that's okay. We don't have to protect our kids from feeling sad. Sometimes they need to feel sad so that they understand what empathy is. So, what do you think? Do you think people would actually benefit from this list, or you just think it's like a little bit long?
No, I definitely think that college would definitely benefit uh, people who read it, like these books. Like if you're definitely starting out, like not knowing where to go, uh, definitely just a list of like books that are like to go to like start out reading would definitely help.
Matthew, thank you so much for coming and for interviewing with me. I really
Thank you for
appreciate
having
it.
me.
And thanks for giving your time. You're not even tutoring with me right now. We're just hanging out here recording. So any
Yes,
last
ma'am.
words before we end today?
Just thank you for all that you've taught me, and you've definitely helped me a lot with everything. So I appreciate that, and you're very nice person. Thank you.
Thanks, Matthew. All right, we'll sign out. All right, guys, thanks for watching.
If you haven't downloaded this awesome list, what are you waiting for? I talk more in depth about this free reading list in another video, but since I showed this detailed list to Matthew during the interview with him, I wanted to go ahead and give you all a sneak peek.